Hey there, Dream Chasers. This is Hannah Pryde, and welcome to Pryde and Shine, your podcast host for innovators and influencers in Dubai. Proudly sponsored by Pryde Migration, your dedicated partner for immigrating to Dubai. Welcome, Jonny Dodge, to the podcast. How are we?
Very good.
Amazing. So, Jonny, you're obviously a serial entrepreneur, especially within the luxury and experience travel industry. You've set up multiple companies over the years, from nightclubs to jets to space to everything. Any person that wants to travel, you've got it all. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
It's great to be here.
Amazing. But I just wanted to get you on today really to focus on your serial entrepreneurship over the years. You obviously started it in your 20s and you've been able to expand the brand over to Dubai, especially your two companies, which are My Ocean Company, a yacht and charter and sales and management company, and the CEO of GPM Management Experiences based in London, all about the F1 around the world, which is fantastic. The best thing that I like to watch in sports. I'm not a sporty person. I think it's the only thing I actually watch. So how did you transfer into your experiences, yachting, jet, space and everything else from London nightclubs? How has it transferred into this industry?
I mean, I think it was an amazing platform for me to start out on. And the reality is that connections is what drives business. And the opportunity and my passion around connecting with people is just what has moved everything forward. So I think one of the greatest opportunities to meet people is out at clubs. So owning one of the coolest clubs in London at the time meant that everyone wants to meet the nightclub owner. Everyone wants to say you. So we were constantly hosting celebrities or billionaires, and they still want your phone number. They want to get hold of you because they want to get into the club. So the reality was, buying a nightclub back then was such an amazing first step for me to do. And I was lucky enough to have a billionaire business partner at the time. So Tony Fernandez, who now owns AirAsia and QPR football team and a load of other businesses, inspired me. So if my business partner could own a Formula One team and a football club and a hotel chain, I was like, well, why can't I do the same? So it then gave me those initial first steps to thinking, it's about your environment ultimately. And I always say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So taking that into account was so fundamental for me. So getting my inspiration from Tony, I was like, well, look, I want to do these things. So as soon as he bought the Formula One team, I was like, right, I want to get into F1. And I mean, that had been a passion of mine for a long time. But he then introduced me to Bernie Eccelstone, and I did my first deal with Bernie.
Oh, wow.
So that was such an exciting first step. So within a few months, I was in the F1 paddock with licenses from him, operating events around the world for Formula One. So that was such a great first step. And then that created a platform for, I mean, ultimately, Formula One, in terms of a hospitality product, is one of those most premium and unique experiences around the world. So then that could easily take me into a platform of everything we now offer today, from yachts, jets, and more.
And you know, the thing is with that Netflix series, what was it called? It's like
Drive to Survive.
Drive to Survive. That's what got me hooked on the F1. And I think since moving to Dubai, I had never really watched it. Watching that series, Abu Dhabi, obviously F1 in November every year, I would never miss that now. Going back to what you said, connections is everything, especially since moving to Dubai. I have realised your network is your net worth. That is the most important weekend, I would say, in Dubai's book of the full year. Every single business person, anyone that does anything in the world that has a bit of background behind them, entrepreneurship, it's a place to be. It's a place that I always say. So weekends, you'll probably be the most drunk. You'll have the best memories, but you'll end up doing with them business with that person within 6 months to a year later. I mean, that's the point,
right? And I think that for connecting with people in unique experiences is really what creates stronger bonds and connections. So again, with our businesses, we're trying to do that all the time. You take people away on great adventures, and so those experiences connect people. 100%. And so if we can have those connections, I mean, here is a great platform to do that. So
it's crazy. Dubai is probably one of the best cities in the world to live in, especially if you want to accelerate your growth with the people around you. You said you are one of the 5, you become a percentage of the 5 people that you go around. This is the best analogy for what it's true. Everyone says it. If you're hanging around entrepreneurs, billionaires, successful people, it gives you the mindset that you want to be on that platform. You want to sit at that dinner table. To do that, you all share ideas. You're barely ever gossiping. It's always, how did you get there? What you want to do? The why behind it. And everyone always quizzes each other.
My goal is to be the dumbest, least interesting guy in the room, because that's going to make you level up quickly.
Genuinely. And when it comes to, obviously, your jets is over here. How did you get into that? What was your first deal when you were brokering jets?
Your Sky.
Yeah. Sorry, your Sky.
It was so great. So we started really at the top there, and my business partner worked at Airbus before, and for me, I'd launched my own airline, and I went through that whole process, which was a fascinating journey with my experience with Tony. And then I bought a company out of administration called Silverjet. We bought the brand, and then we went to launch that. That was 10, 15 years back now, but. So I had a lot of experience all the way through to operating an airline and putting all that together. So when we launched Your Sky, it was purely because of the demand from our client base. We'd launched My Ocean, and the yacht business was going very strong, but the customers really were interested in chartering and buying aircraft. Yeah. So we started really at the top of that game, and our relationship with Airbus supported that. So we worked with ACJ, which is Airbus corporate jets. Right. So you're flying in the world's largest aircraft. So yeah, I mean, our first flights were in Airbus A330 private jets. I mean, you've got cinemas, gyms on board. So it really is quite an awesome place to be. And I think in terms of the hub for jets, definitely the UAE is a very strong region for that
huge.
as well.
They've got that. They've got multiple private jet airports here, and they're actually building one in Iraq. I didn't know if you knew that, for the new Wing Casino and everything going. Yeah. So it shows the amount of people that are flying in here private. And I think now the company that I'm partnered with, Strata, they've got a marketing thing in JetX. Because of all the people that are coming in there, most business people, especially people flying to and from Saudi, always go private.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Don't you not think, especially since COVID, a lot of these young entrepreneurs, they're now, I would say, printing money, because I feel like no one ever used to become this rich within their 20s. So what you've now seen over the last 5 years, they're the people that I'm seeing that are hiring out these jets, yachts, and that's one thing your business has really grasped upon, the crypto industry.
Much so. Yeah, I mean, I think that because of the group of travel companies we've owned, we really track a lot of the travel trends in this premium sector. And what we've seen is there's a huge impact. For example, the average age of a new yacht owner, we've seen that drop by nearly 10 years in the last 2 or 3 years. Really? So the impact is certainly significant. And what that means for a yacht is that you design them differently. They want different things. They want to go to different destinations. So we're seeing a significant trend in people staying on yachts longer. In fact, all travel destinations longer. So a key factor for us is that people now are not so much having their holiday home in the south of France or Spain that they're going to for 3-4 weeks in the summer. What they're doing is they're traveling seasonally. So they'll go to a destination for 3 or 4 months at a time. They'll bring their staff with them, their family. They'll work from those locations. And we're finding Dubai is one of those key hubs. And so it's a key way of changing how people are traveling now. Now, I mean, they travel with more people and they go for longer.
Yeah. I mean, I know I definitely was a part of that trend from 2018. I've been seasonal living. It's only really the last 2 years that I've been more put in Dubai, like based here, than ever before. I used to live in Mexico, Europe, everywhere for multiple months at a time. And I definitely seen, especially when I lived in Mexico, the way that the nomad living has really transferred. I was in a place called Holistica Jungle, and you met all these CEOs from America that were working there. And I think, especially again, since COVID, this hybrid working, more and more people are loving this nomad living, which is perfect for you. I mean, I saw on your Instagram that you rented out the most expensive yacht charter with some of the biggest YouTube people in the world. And that just shows the change of the people that are trying to now rent these. Before, we probably only see Beyonce and Jay-Z. And now you're getting these YouTube famous people that before they wouldn't be classified as A-list celebrities, and now TikTokers and all that industry are classified. They're all. I
mean, that's the way content's going ultimately. But the reality is that the age group of the people who can afford these things is getting younger and younger, and especially with businesses in tech and crypto specifically, that's been a huge driver for us. Mm-hmm. So we've really focused on that market, and I don't think there's very few people with as much liquid wealth and ability to spend it as people in that sector.
Yeah.
So the reality is that a lot of billionaires historically have been wealthy through their investments in companies as well as in real estate, which is very illiquid, whereas the reality is in a crypto portfolio, you're incredibly liquid. So it means that people that have the ability to spend huge sums of money, and these guys are in their 20s and 30s, so it's such a different age group. I think, the average age of some of the larger corporate jet owners are in their 70s. So that's really just completely transforming the age range of these customers now.
It's crazy. Do you know what? I think people, especially now with my age, we've gone through a recession in 2008. We've gone through crises, pandemics and everything. And I think that's the reason the younger entrepreneurs that become these millionaires are really wanting to spend their time now on experiences. It's all about how they can have the best holiday, how they can have the best memories, how they can spend their money and create these amazing memories, which your businesses really accommodate. You're always looking to how to give a one-of-a-kind trip that they post on Instagram, they'll make money from it. And I really didn't understand that until I started speaking to these crypto people, Forex traders. The reason they sell their businesses is through the experiences that their businesses can give them the opportunity to go in. So sometimes I'm like, why on earth have you just done that? And they're like, well, I brought a content creator and I've videoed all X, Y, and Z, and it's now gone viral on YouTube, TikTok, Reels. Yeah. It's a crazy way. It's like nothing you've ever
ultimately,
heard of.
Business is always about selling a story and selling a vision, a dream, and that's very much what these experiences are creating for people. So people see that as part of investing into their businesses as well.
It's wild. And tell me, what's the best bit of knowledge that you've probably found from being in the sales position that you're in? What would you say you always look out for when you're creating the avatar? That when you're starting a business, everyone needs to find the avatar that they sell to. How did you find that out when you were going into these yachts and jets? Because it's such a niche, it's such a high network area to sell within, which can be one of the hardest areas to sell within because it's not everyone that's available.
No, of course. And I think we look after a lot of new customers in the market. So the reality is you're getting people that are acquiring their 100-meter yacht as their first purchase, which is such an interesting approach, which you would never have seen in previous years. So it's sometimes harder to work out who the correct customer is. But I mean, we focus much on the younger audience, which means we've got a specific type of clientele. But you never can tell, and that's the reality of this business. So it's very interesting to see the mindset of people, the type of characters that we meet, but they're really across the board.
Yeah, and you've been based in Dubai, going back to it, the pandemic has moved all these people over here. The network of people within Dubai right now is definitely your caliber of people. You've got the most billionaires and millionaires now located in Dubai. I think it was announced last week there has been over $10 million transactions in properties in Dubai than London and New York in the last year, which just shows the type of people that are moving here. It was obviously Crypto Week last week. You were very involved in it. And the size of yachts that I've seen in all the harbours were crazy. Even Marina, like the Marina Bay the weekend, I've never seen so many yachts stuck in with one area. You could hear all the music bouncing off each other. It reminded me of Saint-Tropez, if anything. I've never seen so many. But that just shows the type of people that want to be here. They want to have the yachts here. Whereas about 10 years ago, if your business was based here, people are like, no, I travel around Europe in my yacht. I travel around America. It was never, oh, I want a yacht based in Dubai. And now you've been hosting crypto events and everything on your yachts.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've seen is that the people coming here are now living here for the winter. A lot of ultra high net worths are choosing this as their winter home. Mm-hmm. And as we've said, there's a lot of seasonal travel, but they've really gone, right, I want to get my residency here. I want to get a home here. I might want to bring my yacht here in the winter. Mm-hmm. So I think that the alternative to being in Europe during the winter time, this is such a great place to be that everyone's now migrating here. So for the yacht industry, rather than taking their yachts to the Caribbean, people are bringing them down here for the winter, and then now they're heading back to the Mediterranean for the summer. There's always going to be seasonal travel here, but the reality is that people are wanting to spend more and more time here, and we've seen that as real communities have started to evolve. People have started to bring their families here, so it's become a less transient as a place and more of a home. I just bought a house here last week, so
congratulations!
Yeah, thank you. Like it's just really been like a trend that way for sure.
And you know, we've seen it definitely in the demographic of people moving over here, and I've said it so many times. People used to only think they're coming to Dubai for 1 or 2 years, and they would go out, spend all their money the weekend. There was no thing of saving. There was no big drive in buying a property. And I would definitely see over the last 3 to 4 years, people are now like, I want to live here. I want to be based here. I actually prefer the lifestyle here. You and I know ourselves how easy it is to live here. Everything is so fast. It's so, I don't even know the word I'm trying to find, but everything's so accessible, that's the word. And I think now we're getting more people through the door that I met them 4 years ago when I first moved here, and they had no interest in investing here, no interest of being here for a long time. And these are the people now, like yourself, that want the golden visa, like yourself, that are setting up businesses and being located here because of the tax benefits, and buying properties here because the rent here is going up and up and up. Yeah. It's now more financially viable to buy a property. And to be honest, price per square foot, you'll know yourself, you've lived in all these different places, you get a lot more for your buck in Dubai than you would in the likes of London, New York, China, anywhere, which is why these people are now buying the properties here. So it's a crazy way to see the demographic has changed. When did you move here? When did you start coming to Dubai?
So, I mean, it's been in my life for a long time. So I've had friends that moved here about 15 years ago or so. So I started coming here on holiday. Then I set up a company here about 7 years ago for tax as an offshore entity. And for me, that was... I was always coming here for Formula One. Of course, Abu Dhabi's an important race for our F1 business in the calendar. So I'd always spend a month a year here. And then during COVID, I wanted to escape London. So I actually moved down to Monaco. And so when I spent my time down there during lockdown, which was a great place to be, actually, it was then trying to work out what I wanted to do. And I came here just, again, thinking I'd just come for the winter of that year as COVID kind of came back into Europe. And then I realized that this was such a great place to be that I didn't want to leave. So now I spend 6 to 9 months of the year here and 3 months back in Monaco in the south of France for the summer.
Amazing. And what would you say is the biggest acceleration of growth Dubai has provided you personally?
I mean, I think the crypto community here was so valuable, and this is such a strong hub for it now. You see a lot of the key players in the industry basing themselves here. So as an industry sector, that's been so valuable. And I think that a lot of people have really been able to find the right way to invest. And again, I've invested into crypto hedge funds based here in the UAE, and the structure that the government have put in place for supporting crypto businesses has been really key into that. So, and the support from the government. So that's been a huge value for me, for sure.
Yeah, I've even heard of big companies that were once based in America are now actually moving over here because of the crypto. So it's crazy to see that Dubai is definitely moving in the way that they're now attracting these big businesses that are moving their headquarters to Dubai because it is becoming more business friendly. I know in the past I heard it was really hard to sell companies in Dubai because it wasn't as legit and it could have always been a scam. But now they're bringing in all this AML, corporation tax. It is making companies a lot more legit and scalable to put on the platform to then be able to sell, which I think is really attracting people to live here for this lifestyle. When you've moved to Dubai, obviously 7 years ago, you've got your golden visa last year, which amazing that you're here for 10 years. Yeah. The closest thing to citizenship offered. I mean,
it's so great. Again, I mean, we work with the government so much here. They're so supportive. So when we've been working with them, I've been advising the government on the laws for the Maritime Authority because I'm on the board of the Leisure Marine Association here. And then we've worked with them, with DET specifically on trying to bring yachts into the region. So it was very kind of them to offer me the golden visa on the back of that. But it's been such a interesting insight into being able to work so closely with government, having those relationships and understanding how much support and interest they have in really growing the region here.
100%. Well, look, there was major floods here last week, and we were even discussing today, anytime Dubai says they're going to do something, they're going to do it. And even when the floods here were crazy, it was unheard of, it was actually quite scary. However, they were able to clear it up so fast. They've offered free housing. Emaar have offered free fixtures and fittings to Emaar buildings, which any other country, you wouldn't hear of it. No. The amount of support that they've been able to do, and again, making it so accessible. They've been putting tutorials on your phone for how to claim for car insurance and everything else. It just shows how forward thinking this government is, that they are trying to find out the loopholes and the gaps that make people want to move to Dubai and stay here and invest here, which I think is fantastic. And that's the reason so many people aren't leaving now.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's about lifestyle ultimately. And I think that in a world where I deal with billionaires on a daily basis, money isn't the thing that brings you happiness. It's about that day-to-day routine. What are you doing every day? So my opportunity to be able to live here, have great weather, be able to be on the beach in the morning, go for a run, be outside, keep fit, and the opportunities of everything. I always say everything can be delivered to your house in 15 minutes. I mean, it's absolutely incredible whether you're getting a service from noon where it drops out of the sky. I don't know where this stuff comes from in 15 minutes. Or whether you need to order a doctor or a masseuse or a gardener, they're there. It's just such an incredible thing. So having that ability to be able to provide services on tap is just like no other place.
It is. It's absolutely crazy. And I know I definitely find it when I go to Europe in the summer, which is my favourite place. It does take me 24 hours to adjust, because even I'm like, how do I order a taxi? Why is it ever not working? How do I get something delivered? And like, you have to walk to the shop. We've just got it such an easy lifestyle and such a great community when it comes to the weather, when it comes to the people you're surrounded with. I always say whenever I go back home, I meet people and I'm like, this is how much has changed in my life within 3 months, and they're still doing the same thing. And I think that's the biggest pillar why people move here, is the acceleration and growth, both personally and business, when you move to Dubai. If you were to do it all again, start all your businesses from scratch, what would be the main bit of advice for anyone young or anyone that is looking to start a business? What would be your main bit of advice for them?
I mean, I think dream big. That's what Tony taught me when I was younger. And I think that the reality is that people don't think big enough. And sometimes the scale of your vision, like it's really achievable, and setting your mind to those things. So I think that some people create such a glass ceiling for themselves and on their earning abilities or what's achievable. So I think that for me, when I set out having huge goals, like as much as people might laugh at you, think you're wrong, if you can set those goals, I'd rather like just shoot for the stars and hit the moon sort of thing. You know, it's like it's just a different way of looking at it. So if I can fail, I'd rather fail on a massive goal than try and hit a low goal.
100%. I was at a conference last week and it was crazy to be within the room. The speakers were from America and they actually even said they've never heard of so many people with such huge goals in one room. They were like, this is crazy. And we had people that had goals for reaching 10 million, 5 million, 1 million. No, like usually we go to people that will go to these conferences, ask the same question. It's 100 and 200. Yeah. But it just shows the people here are really always trying to reach for the stars. So when you're sitting and you're around all these people, your dreams that you think are huge, and for maybe people back home, they're like, you're dreaming. This is like laughable. You come here and everyone's always one step ahead. Everyone's always believing in themselves. And I think it all really stems from this mental and wellness concentration that you really find in Dubai. Everyone's really into their physical health, mental health, reading, manifestation. And it's not frowned upon maybe in other countries, but everyone does it here.
I think that it's definitely stronger here. I think that in Europe, that's lacking in some places, certainly in the UK. But in America, it's been quite strong for some time. So it's seeing that transition across. And I think that that's one of those key things, is really people like focusing on themselves and their personal development is so key. So it's interesting to see how that makes such a big impact here. And
you're surrounded by billionaires, and there's a thing called the billionaire mindset. And I'm sure that you'll be able to give people advice from the stuff that you've been taught and you've maybe seen, been around these types of people. I know you've met Elon Musk and you've met Richard Branson, which some people can only dream about. It's their idols and they look upon them. And I personally have read their autobiography. So the fact that I know someone that's even met them, I think is so cool. What have you learned from being at a dinner table with them or conferences with them that you can give back to tell people and teach people what they've taught you?
I mean, I think it's so interesting seeing the mindset of these guys. And everyone's like, and it goes back to that dream bigger philosophy, is that people think they're dreaming big. And then you look at it and you realize Elon is planning to send 100 rockets a day to Mars. So unless you're trying to do that, you're not thinking big enough.
Yeah.
So the reality is that when you start to see the scale that you've got to think, and I go back to my staff often and we look at projects and I'm like, right, okay, so this project made $1 million. What if we had to make 10? And they're like, we'd have to change everything. We'd have to change our suppliers. We'd have to change the venues. We'd have to do different marketing. And I'm like, cool, go and do all of those things. And then if we hit 2 million on that project, then that's a success.
Yeah.
But unless you have that vision for something so much greater, you're only going to go up by 10% each year. And that's really not.
Yeah. You want to always try and get to the highest quality. And going back to vision, because this is something I'm always really interested in. You're obviously an entrepreneur, but you have people working for you. How do you get people within your business to see your vision? Because I only ever think a business gets to its full potential if everyone within the business is living, breathing, and seeing the vision. If you have one person that's doubting it, it can kind of, a bad egg can rot the whole shelf, they say. So how do you get everyone on your team on board with the vision? I think it's important to... People buy why you do something, not what you do. And it's so important that some employees working in companies don't know why they're doing it. They don't know what this is about. So I think it's so important to have your clear narrative with your team, have that story that they buy into that vision with you. So if they can tell the why to the customers, like people don't
care so much about what the end product is. They want to buy into a dream. So when we're doing all of our amazing experiences around the world, it's buying into that. It's like, right, if we have the ability to be able to support these incredible people and inspire them. So we're taking billionaires away on trips, but they're getting inspired by what we're curating for them. And that's such an exciting platform. So if we're able to pass that on to our customers about why we really do this, then that starts to become so much more meaningful and gives so much more purpose. And for me, I'm very passionate about the subject of happiness. And I've been talking about it quite a lot. And I've met with the king in Bhutan, who has the Gross National Happiness Conference out there. And they run their country based on the happiness of their people. I mean, even in Dubai, we have a happiness minister. So the reality is reminding people that the end goal isn't money, it's happiness. And if we can create that, we create the narrative around it, then that excites everyone.
I mean, it must not be hard because you do amazing trips. I think I must follow your Instagram, TikTok and everything all the time because I'm so interested in how you even come up with ideas. I know personally that especially your Antarctica trip, because I find Antarctica so interesting. It's a place that no one seems to have been, but you've been there, Jonny.
Yeah.
How did you get there?
That was interesting. I mean, that was one of the first ever tourist trips to the centre of Antarctica. That was back over 15 years ago. So I used to organise the Gumball Rally, which is a celebrity supercar rally around the world. And back then we partnered with a now friend of mine, Patrick, who built the first camp down in Antarctica. And we had this amazing experience of then chartering this Russian Aleutian bomber plane and sitting in the cargo bay at the back and then arriving into Antarctica. And we was sat in the glass bottom of the aircraft and watching the sunrise over the icebergs in Antarctica and then landing on the ice and spent 10 days trekking down Antarctica. It was like landing on another planet. So there's no greenery, there's no animals in the interior. So it's such an interesting landscape and experience. So it really was a life-changing experience for me heading down there. And I'm planning to go back very soon. I'm working on a world record attempt for the fastest crossing of Antarctica by car.
Oh wow, so, that'll be so interesting.
Yeah,
maybe you'll bump into some aliens because everyone keeps saying they're based there.
Let's see if we find some.
Hopefully. No, it's amazing. And tell me, just before we round up, space. What is your interest and excitement with space? Because that's another thing that I'm so intrigued by. You seem to be going to all these places that people can only think about and research, but you seem to be doing expeditions to them. What is your plan with space?
So Space Experiences, we launched that 5 years ago. And initially we launched it doing jet fighter trips and reselling an experience called Zero G, which creates a weightless parabola in an aircraft that you can do. And so we started to take people on astronaut training. And we had this vision of then being a travel agent for space and seeing how long that would take to come to fruition. Well, 2 years ago, we sent our first clients to space. And subsequent to that, it's been such an amazing journey to see customers go up to space and experience that. And I was lucky enough to meet with the author of the Overview Effect book just a few weeks back. And hearing his story and bringing him to tears over how people feel about looking back on planet Earth and realizing that everything that has ever existed in their life it is back on that planet and they're out here. And it's a very powerful experience to see planet Earth from space, see it with no borders, no wars, and just see what an incredible planet we have. And to not be on it is just such earth-shattering experience really for someone. So it's something I'm very excited to do.
I'm excited to see where it goes because I definitely think, especially within probably the last 5 to 10 years, there's been so much more interaction with people going to space. I mean, personally, I find it pretty terrifying. I don't know why. I just find it terrifying because we realise how small we are. We are an atom when you look at it from that far out. So it's so interesting. It'll be so exciting to follow your journey to see how far we get to space and how far your company gets in there. The last note, what would you say is your biggest achievement over the last 5 years since you've been to Dubai? What's been your biggest achievement?
Good question. I think that now structuring our businesses to create you grow up and you become like where we're now looking at raising more capital for our business, exiting some of them. This infrastructure here, the finances here in the industry, like there's been such a greater opportunity for us to now go, right, it's time to be able to look at the business and see where we can capitalize on some bigger opportunities. So for me, I think we've grown up, we've been able to scale. I've been able to run other companies not being in the UK anymore, which has been such a powerful tool. I think that a lot of people have a mindset, I used to be the first guy in the office and the last one to leave. And then I realized that if I can start, I need to be able to travel and be independent from that. And to be able to get to a position over the last 3 years where now I don't need to be in the office and I have teams that run those companies, that's been such a powerful step forward for me. And I think I can add more value to my companies by doing that, because now I can work with some of them in more of an advisory role where I'm supporting them by bringing in bigger deals rather than being day to day. It's so important not to be kind of working in your business every day. You need to work on it and look at the overview of the whole thing, because that's where you can make the most impact. So writing that email every morning probably isn't the most powerful thing you can do. It's maybe taking that time to step back, see where some strategic opportunities are, and then push the business forward. So that's what it's given me by being here.
I mean, you've been able to build this amazing life of freedom. You've been able to travel the world. You're building villas in Bali. You're doing everything. And it just shows that Dubai's been able to really give you that limelight. It's been able to introduce you to a larger network. It's been able to give you probably advice on how to walk away from your business in London and be more of that advisory role, being able to take the advice from the people around you and how they're structuring their business. And it's only something that I think everyone wants now. Everyone wants this life of security but freedom, and I think this is some place that we're all taking advice and information from each other, being around it and being around people that are now really focusing on the experiences, because that's what you do take to the grave.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the freedom is my biggest value.
Yeah.
And having that opportunity is key for me. So I'm very passionate about that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was great to hear everything, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, cheers.
No bother.